the Heart of the Word. Reflections by Father Joseph Mary, SCTJM, on the daily readings from the Holy Mass. Sunday of the 24th week of Ordinary Time. You are the Christ.
God bless you, dear family. Today in the Heart of the Word, Jesus takes the apostles to Caesarea Philippi, the capital of the Tetrarchy of Herod Philip, one of the sons of Herod the Great. Philip renamed the former capital after himself and dedicated a new temple to the Roman emperor, Caesarea Philippi, for Caesar and Philip. Philip did this to secure his power and to ingratiate the Romans to himself. Jesus leads the apostles about 30 miles north of the Sea of Galilee to this new city, which many considered to be the future of the pagan world and therefore the whole world. Arriving in the city center, the apostles are overcome with fear. In the center of Caesarea Philippi, there's a large cavern about 70 feet tall and 70 feet wide that looks like a gigantic mouth. The waters of the Jordan actually flowed into the cavern. Before you reach the cavern, you pass by an altar to Caesar, where sacrifices were being made. You're now in front of the gates of Hades. In the ancient world, the gates represented the strongest part of the city wall. You could only enter and exit through the gates. If you passed through the gates and entered the city, you entered under the authority of the gods of that city. Therefore, if you passed through the gates of Hades, you were under the power of Hades. Approaching the gates of Hades, you saw an altar dedicated to the god Pan, who was the god of terror and from whom we have the word panic. The apostles are standing at the gates of Hades, next to an altar dedicated to Caesar, and in front of a temple dedicated to the god of terror and panic. This is the heart of the pagan world. This is the center of the powers and principalities of darkness. And it is in this context that Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" Peter responds, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus responds to Peter, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. And the gates of the netherworld, the gates of Hades, the gates of hell, and all the power of evil shall not prevail against her. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." But isn't all this just a metaphor? My brothers and sisters, the power of Hades is real, and it conquers human culture and human beings through the power of sin, and the fruit of sin is death. Do we live in a culture where sin and death are far too prevalent? Jesus is telling us that his love is stronger than death, and that his mercy is the definitive limit to evil and sin. Every time we go to confession and place our sins humbly before Jesus in the person of the priest, we receive sacramental absolution. And what is bound on earth and binds us in heaven is loosed on earth and therefore loosed in heaven. Sacramental absolution is more powerful than all the power of Hades. The gates of Hades do not prevail, for the power of Jesus is victorious in his church through the sacraments. Let us listen to these words of Mother Adela. Brothers and sisters, let us open our hearts to the profound conversion which the Lord wants to make inside of us, which will prepare us to acquire a new heart, and with new feelings, new ways of thinking, new ways of looking at life, with new values and with new desires. Everything is new when our hearts are renewed and healed by the merciful love of Christ. All for the heart of Jesus, through the heart of Mary.